to be filling out this sketchbook this month, and I wanted to share it with you. I actually already did the first page, but I also realized that I did it upside down. But this little sketchbook is from my friend Little Cabin Studios, and I just think it's such a cute little size. And actually it's also an accordion fold, which I think is really interesting, and I haven't done a sketchbook like this because potentially all of the pages could link together, which I think is really neat on the front and the back. And so I'm thinking about doing flowers in this sketchbook and just doing florals that sort of bleed together, and hopefully it ends up looking like sort of a continuous but separate pages. Hopefully I'm making sense, but I think this is going to be a nice little project for me, and I've been wanting to finish all these sketchbooks that I have, and this is one of them. So I decided that I would just go for it, and I haven't really filmed a lot of videos like this where I just paint a sketchbook page. There are a lot of other artists who do things called fill a sketchbook or fill a sketchbook page with me, and I love that idea. So this is definitely not something that's original, and so I hope that you enjoy watching as I fill out a page of this sketchbook, maybe even two, depending on how I feel today. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is use a scrap piece of paper and just put it underneath, because I want to paint all the way to the edges, and then I also just don't want to paint onto my table. So I'm just going to do this, and I'm going to paint on this second page here, and my plan is to use some of this green color from the first page and bring it over to this page so that it sort of continues. I don't actually know what I'm going to do yet, but I've been practicing florals, and so I figured this is a nice way to just do a tiny little study. I also got a new video set up, and it's a little bit different than my normal top-down view. So I don't know if you like it, where it brings you closer, but I would love to know if you wanted to leave something in the comments to let me know what angle you like to see things. Eventually, I haven't really gotten super fancy with my angles and my editing on YouTube, but maybe eventually I'll be able to do sort of multiple angles when I'm filming. But I film on my camera, and so, I film on my camera. I film on my phone, and obviously I only have one phone, and so I can't really be filming two angles at the same time. And so that is one thing. So I don't know, if I get fancy enough, then I'll eventually maybe set up a camera also. I'm just going to move this out of the way. All right, so I've been wanting to practice florals, and so I'm just going to be doing probably just some loose florals. That's like top of mind for me. And since I have this purple color in my palette, I think I'm just going to keep using it. So it's sort of going to carry in terms of color from the first page onto this page, since this was the last color I used. So maybe I'll just bring in some others, see how it goes. So I shared in the last video that I posted that I don't think I'm really, honestly, that great at painting florals, flowers, and so I don't know. It's definitely a new thing for me, and I'm really trying to find a way to paint them that feels more natural to me. And it may just be that my version of loose florals is a lot more loose and layered, and instead of painting just directly onto dry paper. So we'll see. I'm gonna try something based on what I sort of learned from my paintings last practice session, which is the last video. So we'll see how it turns out. I'm just playing, and I think this sketchbook is really meant for me to play, and so I don't know, we'll see how it goes. I'm gonna carry over some of this color. I think, and if you're curious, I think that this paper is Stonehenge Aqua, so I'll link it below in case you're curious. I have to be honest, it's not, I would say it's not my favorite paper, but it does, you know, it does really beautifully still. It's a beautiful paper in terms of being good for watercolors, but you know, I was just thinking about how the more you paint with watercolors, the more you start to realize that you have a preference for these things, like papers especially. And then since I'm going to wait for this page to dry so that I can come back in later, I think I'll move on to the next one, and I'll do a little bit of a different technique. And I think I'm going to change the color a little bit. And this one I think I may just try the wet on dry. See how it turns out. I've been really having more fun lately just playing and being loose with sketchbooks, and I don't know, I feel like I used to think a lot about what I'm supposed to do in them and whether or not I'm going to ruin a sketchbook, and so it prevented me from really starting, and so I'm trying not to be so much like that and to let go a little bit more, at least when it comes to sketchbooks. See, this is a style that I don't excel at. This what I'm doing right now, and I don't know. I think some people would look at it and say that it looks fine, and that it's not terrible. But I just really feel like in my head I have an idea of what I think that it should look like, or the movement that I've seen in other people's paintings, and how I wish that I could kind of capture something similar. And I think that's where my sort of critique is of myself is coming from. Maybe it's just that I really haven't spent a lot of time doing these, and so if I just practiced more, it would feel more natural and just come to me a lot easier, which is probably true. But also, it sort of comes down to whether or not I feel like I want to do it. And I think sometimes that's what it is we see things, and because a lot of other people are doing it, we feel like we have to do it too, and I don't think that's necessarily true. I think we should just do what we feel like doing. I mean, it sounds easier than actually doing it, right? Easier said than done. Because I think it's really easy to be influenced by what we see, what other people are doing, and so it's not easy to stay in your own lane or keep doing what makes you happy when all you see is, other things. And so I think there's something to be said about following your own intuition. Oops, I was off camera just now. Sorry about that. Was not paying attention. I'm so curious about whether or not this is a good format, or if it seems interesting to you or helpful. I feel like I've watched a lot of YouTube videos, and a lot of people don't really film mistakes. And that's what I'm doing right now, is just filming anything that happens right now, because I feel like sometimes it's useful to see. I think sometimes we have to do things like this, experiment and play, and not actually know what the outcome is going to look like in order to discover new things. So I think I'm learning a lot about how to let go of expectations that I might have of what it was supposed to look like, or what I wanted it to look like. Honestly, these two look very similar right now. So I don't know what it is that I learned from this yet, but I'll just let it be. All right, so that was my short little sketchbook page, and I'm just gonna finish off with a couple of small dabs of color here. Feels empty right here, but I'm going to leave it, and I might just, I'm thinking the next time I sit down and do this, I'll let this be even more empty and then move into a little bit of like a more minimal layout as I keep going in the sketchbook. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully you enjoyed this little painting session. What is going on here? Look at this. This is what happens when you keep touching something and you shouldn't have kept touching it. So forewarning, I feel like I want to keep adding to it. I feel like there needs to be, somebody's going to watch this and wonder what it is I'm doing. So I'm just gonna add, I felt a little empty there, and then I'm gonna add a little bit of a green stem. Let's see. See, I'm just touching it. I just keep adding to it, and I'm just gonna see what happens here. I want to add a little bit to fill in this gap, and then I'm gonna stop something really light, I think. And then the next time I paint, I think I'll just let it get more minimal, like I was saying. All right, so I hope that you enjoyed this little sketchbook painting session. This is how it turned out in the end, and here's actually my first sheet. So this will be interesting to see when it all comes together. So this is a little study I did for this month's Paint With Me challenge. So this will be interesting to see how the sketchbook unfolds. Maybe I'll do large format flowers on this side, and then on this side maybe there'll be a smaller, I don't actually know, but I'm okay with just exploring in this sketchbook. And I think it's been fun so far of being able to do this. I did it for Inktober. I did this for the sketchbook project sketchbook, and that was really fun, and it helped me just kind of keep creating. So we'll see how it goes. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, or if you have comments on other things you'd like to see or want me to talk about as I'm doing something like this, or even if you want to see me make more mistakes, that would be really helpful to know. So I guess I'll see you in the next video.